They say the old hospital on the edge of town has been abandoned for decades. It's a place most people refuse to go near, even during the day. And at night, well, nobody goes near it at night. They say it's haunted, and for good reason. Over the years, people who dared to go inside claimed to hear strange voices, whispers echoing through the empty hallways, footsteps that followed them even though no one else was there. But no one could ever explain why those voices lingered. And no one stayed long enough to find out. One night, though, I decided I had to know for myself. I'm not exactly superstitious. I thought all the stories were just urban legends, tales to keep kids away from a crumbling old building. I was sure I'd walk in, see nothing but broken furniture and peeling walls, and leave with a good story to tell. But that night, I realized how wrong I was. As soon as I stepped inside, it was like the entire atmosphere changed. The air was thick, heavy, filled with the scent of dust and something stale, like decay. My footsteps echoed unnaturally, bouncing off walls and fading into the shadows. But the worst part? It was silent. Unnaturally silent. I couldn't even hear the wind outside. Just the eerie, overwhelming quiet of the abandoned hospital. The lobby was empty, just as I'd expected. Dust-covered furniture, a few overturned chairs, broken glass on the floor. But something felt off. It was like I was being watched, though I knew I was alone. I tried to shrug it off, thinking it was just my imagination. I was fine. I was just here for a look around. I made my way down the first hallway. The further I walked, the colder the air became. I could see my breath in front of me, despite it being a warm summer night. Then I heard it. The faintest whisper. It was so quiet that at first, I thought it was the wind or maybe a trick of the mind. But as I moved forward, it grew louder. I stopped, listening, and it almost sounded like someone calling out. A voice, echoing down the hall. I can't explain the feeling that crept over me then. It was as if my instincts were screaming at me to turn back. But I kept going. I told myself it was just an old building settling, nothing more. I turned the corner, entering what used to be the main patient area. The walls were lined with doors, rooms where people once fought for their lives. And the whispers grew louder here. They were coming from every direction, filling the air with this strange low murmur that sent chills down my spine. I tried to make out the words, but they were just out of reach, like a language I couldn't quite understand. I stood in that hallway, paralyzed by fear and curiosity. And then, one voice stood out from the rest. Clearer. It sounded like someone whispering my name. My own name, echoing through an empty hospital. I turned slowly, half expecting to see someone behind me. But the hallway was empty. Completely empty. Still, that voice. It kept calling my name, drawing me further down the hall. I followed, my heart pounding so loudly I thought it might burst. I don't know what possessed me to keep going, but I had to see who, or what, was calling to me. The voice led me to a door at the end of the hall. It was slightly ajar, like it was inviting me in. I pushed it open, and the room was pitch black, the kind of darkness that feels alive, almost tangible. I reached for my flashlight, shining it into the room. And there, in the corner, I saw a figure. Pale, almost translucent, hunched over with its back to me. I froze, too scared to move, barely able to breathe. And then it spoke. In the same voice that had called my name. It whispered, "You're finally here." I wanted to scream, to run, but my body wouldn't obey. The figure turned slowly, and as it did, I felt the temperature drop even further. Its eyes were hollow, like they were looking straight through me, as though it could see into my very soul. It stretched out a hand, reaching toward me, and I felt a sudden, overwhelming urge to get out. I stumbled back, turning and racing down the hall, the whispers growing louder, more frantic, like a chorus of voices trying to pull me back. I didn't stop until I was out of that building, gasping for air, my heart racing like never before. But even as I stood outside, I could still hear them. The voices, faint but unmistakable, echoing from within those walls, calling me back. They say no one ever truly leaves that hospital. That if you go in, something stays with you. Something that calls to you in the dead of night, whispers in the shadows, a reminder of the voices that linger within those walls. And now, every time I'm alone, I hear it too. A faint whisper, calling my name.